Hello, I'm Judge Mark Johnson. I'm one of the judges of the Riverside County Superior Court, and I want to talk to you about a unique opportunity, a privilege I've had for over 6 years to serve as the presiding judge of our Riverside County Veterans Court. I'm talking to you for two reasons. One, I want you to support our court. No, I'm not hitting you up for money. I'm not allowed to as a judge. I just want you to support, maybe talk about the court to your friends. And two, if you know a veteran who's suffering, you know a veteran who's justice involved, that's the term for them, send them our way, Department 31 at the Hall of Justice in Riverside, every Friday. So, I was selected because of my background. I'm a retired Army colonel. I also spent a year in Iraq on a tour. During that time, I was an advisor to the Baghdad city and provincial councils. It was one of those win the hearts and minds job, but that didn't influence the insurgents who were shooting at me. They still tried to kill me anyhow. But I was all over Baghdad every day. And one of the things I can never forget is when I was in those armored Humvees and I was being protected outside the wire, there was always some kid's legs right next to me standing up over the Humvee on the saw. That's the machine gun up top. A lot of them were 19, and I was a lieutenant colonel back then in my 40s. But I can't ever forget that kind of sacrifice. So when I see some kid stand in front of me, or I see someone in a jumpsuit, or I see a defendant, or I see an inmate, I don't see any of those things. I see that kid who was protecting my life. Now, to give you an example, the first Veterans Court started in Buffalo, New York, with a judge named Robert Russell. He noticed that veterans dealt far better with other veterans. That veterans who were often lacking in pride in a normal drug court program came into his court when they were in a program exclusively among veterans with their heads held high. And he developed the first Veterans Court in 2008. Ours started right at the beginning of 2012, and it's based on the same principle, that among veterans there is a sense of camaraderie and loyalty and duty. And we can draw upon these strengths, and these veterans can lend their strength to each other and in turn help each other make it through this program. It's marvelously successful. Let me tell you right now that our recidivism rate is 13%. That's really good. I want to do better, but the Department of Corrections, with the same figures, runs between 50 and 70% over the years. We're doing a good job. Recidivism is defined as getting into trouble within 3 years after your graduation from the program. Now, I take a real broad approach on who I'll accept into our Riverside County Veterans Court. If in doubt, I want to accept them. We do not, however, accept homicide or sex offenses. The individual must be a veteran, which means they must have served in uniform, and they must have a diagnosis related to their military service. One of the most common is post-traumatic stress disorder. I've had veterans who have killed over 50 people. I've supervised veterans who've cleaned up after car bombs that have killed over 50 people. PTSD is nothing to play with. It causes issues like avoidance, severe depression, blaming, irritability. What happens is many of our veterans turn to drugs to address symptoms. You know, crushing depression is very easily handled. Just use some methamphetamine. When you don't want to remember something, just use alcohol. The problem is these things are not a long-term fix, but they are a fix for a while. The problem is veterans with a predilection to getting addicted get addicted. Then it's like, particularly with something like methamphetamine, on post-traumatic stress disorder, it's like throwing gas on a fire. Now, I feel very strongly about taking violent offenses here in my program. I think we should be treating violent offenders, domestic violence offenders, because I'm trying to avoid a problem down the way, maybe 15 years from now. But The violence, in my view, I have to make a finding that this violence is related to their military service. I'm not interested in taking mean people into court. I'm taking the good people who have stumbled because of we send them over to some really bad place. And we teach men and women in the service to react with violence to threats. They come home, they have a psychological condition that has them seeing threats. Domestic violence is common, and I by no means am supporting domestic violence. It's appalling. But I can tell you, I feel very strongly that we need to be treating our veterans if this violence is a direct result of their military service. And by that, we come up with a treatment plan. Then the program is an 18-month program divided into 4 phases. I expect the veterans to show up on time, well-dressed. None of this shorts and t-shirts. In the program, they receive regular drug testing. At the beginning, the first 3 months or whenever, they are to come to court once a week. This type of intense supervision has been shown on vet courts and with drug courts to actually to work. It works well. It's got a great rate, as you can see by our 13%. Now, what's interesting about this program, when I say drug court or a collaborative court, it means that we have individuals sitting at our table, all working for the betterment of the veteran without this usual advocacy stuff that you deal with in other courts. We have the Veterans Administration, a federal agency. They provide the lion's share of the treatment for the veterans. I'm a state court judge. We have the county probation department that supervises, district attorney looking out for public safety, public defender or private attorneys assisting the veteran. All of these people are working collaboratively. You don't find that anywhere else. And it works. I'm not going to say it's perfect, but it works most of the time, works quite well. This collaborative approach where everybody is unified telling this veteran what to do avoids those kind of loopholes where an addict might be released in 2 days who really needs residential treatment. I'm real proud of the program. I'm proud of our people. One of the big things that is our mentors. Mentors are veterans themselves. They're friends, they're battle buddies. They help out the veteran. They come to court with them. And you're going to meet 2 of our mentors shortly. I've found the drug testing and the regular appearances are critical. The support of fellow veterans are critical. At these court appearances, when they come to me, they receive regular feedback once a week at the beginning. And why that's so important, it's not like someone's using and we let them go 2 months before we drag them into court. We're right on top of these issues because we are committed to this veteran improving. I can praise individuals. We give actually little rewards, maybe a month off the program or something, or we'll even negative. I can actually put people in jail, though I rarely do that. But the negative could be just a chewing out. The negative could be, here, tell you what, you relapsed again for the 3rd time. Maybe you should write a reflective essay describing why this happened. The one thing I've learned that you never do is you never get worked up as a judge. I do my best not to because, working with addicts, they're going to fail you. I have people who have been to 6, 7 programs that have now been clean for 10 years. We don't give up on people here in Riverside County Veterans Court. We finished with what I would call a quite thrilling graduation. We've had guest speakers at this graduation that come and honor the veterans who've graduated our program. And then finally, the thing is, the reason they're pushing for that is they can actually get their charges reduced or dismissed. Now, I'm going to take you out in a moment, introduce you to one graduate from our program, Kenneth Haley. I'm also going to introduce you to Command Sergeant Major retired Greg Coker, who's kind of like my right-hand person in the program. We work well together. He's the head of our mentor program. And with that, I'll tell you what, let's head on out to the court. I'd like to introduce Ken Haley. Ken's here with his permission. He said we could do this. And this is as close to a hero as you're going to find. Ken was a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, a platoon sergeant. Literally, after being hit by an IED, took a bullet to his chest and refused medical care until the threat could be eliminated or they could take out the sniper. But Ken went through our program, and I always felt he showed a great deal of courage going through the program and a real focus. But I know he struggled, and that's why I wanted to turn it over to him. And Ken, maybe you could just talk about some of what you felt got you into the Veterans Court program and how you think the program helped you.
I think originally what led me down to the path where I ended up in this program was that when I got out of the Marine Corps, I kind of lost my identity and my purpose on who I was, and not really knowing exactly where the next step was. After I was going through some of my cognitive processing therapy on the things that I was trying to deal with to recover from my combat experiences, it put me in a place to where I did things that I shouldn't have done that ended up putting me into Veterans Court.
Isn't the cognitive processing therapy, that's a talk therapy, but where you have to actually relive traumatic experiences?
Yeah, you have to relive everything that you did when you were in Iraq, and then you have to write, they said you have to write 6 pages of your experiences, and I ended up writing like 19 pages of it, but then I thought it was kind of done, but I didn't realize I had to read it afterwards. And then after I had to read it, it was very difficult for me. And then that's kind of what led me into Veterans Court. But it's probably the best decision I ever made. I mean, I don't regret it because I am where I'm at now because of it. This Veterans Court program gave me the support that I needed in order to get through the things that I had to deal with. Because before I didn't have the support group that I needed. So it was just me kind of going through the motions, but not really getting the help that I needed to get through. But this program was great because this is the only courtroom that you'll ever go to that everybody's supporting you to get better and to move forward. I mean, any other courtroom, you're not going to get that kind of support.
I think your life, I think you're doing pretty well now. You don't look like the guy that came into the court.
No, I'm a lot, I feel a lot better. Like I have, I'm proud of myself again, because that's kind of one of the things I lost for a while is that I didn't really know who I was and who I was going to be from now on.
Well, that's one of the things I've heard from a lot of veterans, that they feel they need something to recover their honor. We have an Army Ranger who...
Mission.
Yeah, it's that the mission concept.
Mm-hmm.
They got to have that purpose again and their honor and dignity and all that.
Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons why I volunteer and help, many different situations and help as many as I can, because the thing is, that's kind of my job now is, I'm required, to help other people because I get more out of it than they do.
Yeah.
Because, if I can help them recover from what I had to deal with and, like I even help people with like their marriage counseling and stuff like that now.
I think that kind of underscores one of the things about the strengths of the program is the fact that veterans will open up and talk to other veterans more so than they will, just any old guy on the street.
Absolutely, and I think it's one of the reasons why a lot of the veterans relate to you as Sergeant Major is because you both have, been, in service. Mm-hmm. And if they're going to a courtroom or, without people that actually know what they've been through, then they're not going to get the help that they're not going to allow themselves to get help from somebody that doesn't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of the really important things that between you and Sergeant Major being here is a huge thing on why this thing works.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, one of the best things I ever did in my life was dismissing your convictions. I can go to my grave knowing that was the right decision. I reduced what I could and expunged all of Ken's convictions. And as I said, I think they were well deserved, that action I took, and also really what this program is all about. It's about second starts for veterans.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's difficult because there's no bridge between military law and civilian law. And so it's really hard when you get military guys that are trained to kill their whole entire time and trained for combat, and then they do what they have to do in Iraq overseas, and then they come back and they're expected to be like normal civilians again. So it's difficult to kind of have that bridge between the military and the civilian life.
Yeah, that's so true.
And Veterans Court, I mean, this program would be great, you know, if we could get to the guys before they end up doing something bad. You know, if we can give this kind of program before they even get, you know, as soon as they get out of the military, that they can get the help that they need before they, you know, ruin parts of their lives.
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of veterans. It was no secret they got in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
If you talk to guys on active duty who knew them, they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And I agree with you 100%. It just, you know, sometimes it takes the trauma of getting arrested and thrown in jail to get people to kind of wake up.
Yeah.
And you know, really be motivated for the treatment they need.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if they've never been through any of that kind of experience before.
I'd like to introduce retired Army Command Sergeant Major Greg Coker. Sergeant Major Coker is our mentor coordinator, which means he runs our mentor program. He's the one who's either Sergeant Major or one of his fellow mentors is out there to give advice, serve as a battle buddy, take those calls late at night by a vet who's struggling, and just be an overall helper and assistant to our veterans. He does an amazing job. And he also runs the Reaching New Heights Foundation, which is a charity that is entirely devoted to helping out our veterans. And I know he's gotten a lot of our veterans into housing. He's got a Bronze Star and 2 combat tours. So, Sergeant Major, go ahead. I know you're a humble man.
Well, you know, I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to really connect and continue to serve. I did 26 years, 9 months, and 11 days with Huskine in the military. It was the best time of my life. And I got the opportunity to travel. But my biggest takeaway is the relationship that I was able to build with soldiers and with build friends. And so I started with the Veterans Treatment Court in 2000, I want to say 2014, so I've been with them for about 6 years. Now I'm a mentor coordinator, and what that basically is I have mentors that actually work with veterans in San Bernardino County as well as Riverside, and so they actually connect. They're battle buddies for the veterans. They're the people who really connect. There's a lot of people who are counselors, there's a lot of people who do all other kinds of things but what we are able to do is be a battle buddy, somebody that they can come to and they can talk to and they're familiar with. And I just think that's a great honor. My Reaching New Heights Foundation, I'm the CEO and co-founder along with my wife of Reaching New Heights, and we've been able to really give back and connect.
I know that the mentors are one of the things that really distinguishes Veterans Court from any other of the collaborative courts, like the mental health courts, the drug courts. How do you think they achieve success for our veterans?
I think if we look at early on when the Veterans Treatment Courts were created in Buffalo, New York, by Judge John, and he started with mentors. It really started with a veteran who really did not connect and was actually getting himself into more and more trouble. And he asked a veteran in the court if they would talk to this defendant, and he did, and it made all the difference. And there sprung the Veterans Treatment Court, and along with the mentors. So that whole piece has been critical. Veterans want to talk to veterans. We are very sociable, but a lot of times we're kind of sociable amongst ourselves. And the way that we get out to connect with others is through our relationship amongst ourselves, and that's what this mentoring program is all about.
Well, what do you think about some of these calls? I'll sit there and tell people, look, if you're coming up with any bright idea at 2 in the morning, you call Sergeant Major Coker. And he actually takes the calls, although I never asked his permission up front.
I've taken numerous 2 o'clock calls, as well as I know that One of my senior mentors, Ken Haley, who's here, has taken some of those calls. But we live for that. That's our mission. The 2 o'clock call is, I mean, when we're on active duty, we don't get sleep time. Whenever the mission is, and whenever it's done, and so we continue that. So those 2 o'clock calls are some of the best calls we've ever had. These calls are calls that change people's lives, save people's lives, and we live for those kind of calls to really help out. You get tired, yeah, but it's about the mission. And
Well, you know, I tell these veterans, because a lot of these vets, they're take charge kind of guys. They've been taught to eliminate threats in the military, but now suddenly the threat is maybe a restraining order with their ex-wife or something. And I try to encourage them to not go run over at 2 in the morning when they have some beef, and that's what you guys have done amazing.
yeah, I mean, we get that. Sometimes we get the calls, and part of my friends pissed off, and they know that they've just been treated wrongly, unfairly, and taken advantage of. And so a lot of times the military guys, we don't gel very well with those kind of things. But they're concepts that we use in war, not at home. And so what we're able to tell them is, this is not that kind of threat. Let's kind of think about what is it that you're trying to do and where you want to be. Ken, this thing on, it's really like partnerships, because by people like Ken want a mission and they want to continue to help. And if we continue to have these missions and continue to have things like the Ruck Challenge and all these kind of different events, those are the kind of things that bring us to community. This is really it's about a community court. We want to help the community, help these veterans get back to the community and give that talent, go back to their families, be great dads, great continually mentors. And that's really kind of our big picture. We want, upstanding people to say great things about us, because there's a lot of times, I mean, I go into places and I have to fight for our veterans, because they're saying, oh, those guys and what kind of problems, but these guys are heroes. We're not giving them a freebie. We're giving them only what they earned and what we said we were going to do.
I want to thank you for letting us come into your lives and giving us the opportunity to tell you a little about our Riverside County Veterans Court. As I've said a couple times, if you have a veteran who's struggling, get in touch with us. We're here every Friday in Department 31 in the Hall of Justice in Riverside, and we're here to help veterans. Thank you.